More medications, less health. Something's broken. Traditional medicine manages symptoms, but true healing addresses root cause. I'm Josh Rimini, pharmacist turned healer. At Beyond the Pills, we merge ancient wisdom with modern day science to inspire you through stories of transformation, practical trainings, and holistic healing. Join me and other practitioners as we guide you towards vibrant health, body, mind, and spirit, and move beyond symptom management into true healing. Hello, everybody. My name is Josh Rimini, pharmacist turned healer. And today's guest is someone who's not only mastered the art of influence, but has shared stages, stories, strategies that have impacted lives all over the globe. Corey Poirier is a multiple time TEDx, Mo Mondays, and PMX speaker, host of the top-rated Let's Do Influencing radio show, and founder of both the speaking program and bLU Talks. I can't wait. The best-selling author at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Apple Books, and Kobo, Corey is also a columnist for the Entrepreneur and Forbes, and a featured voice on networks like CBS, CTV, NBC, and ABC. He's interviewed over 6,500 people around the world, top leaders, spoken at Harvard, and has even been featured twice in the world-renowned Entrepreneur on Fire podcast. I love talking entrepreneurship. So today he joins us on this episode of Beyond the Pills to share the transformative fundamentals behind building a life of your dreams and why it may be easier than you think. Welcome to the show, Corey.
Well, thank you so much, Josh. I am super stoked really to be here.
It's amazing when I love how organically the podcast guests are flowing to me right now. Like there's just this natural vibe that's happening when we're talking about these interconnected things about empowerment and transformation and healing. And this is a Beyond the Pills podcast. We speak everything ancient wisdom, modern science for true healing. And let's just get started. Like, let's talk about you. What's your origin story? Like, you've built this incredible body of work. I love reading these bios. It's like, oh man, let's dive in on that. But you know, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you're doing, and we'll go from there.
Well, thank you so much, Josh, for the invite, for sharing that gracious bio. I so appreciate it. In terms of who I am, it's interesting because these days we place a lot of the focus on just like my bio, right? He's done this, he's done that.
Do yeah,
what you do versus who you really are at the core. And I feel like who I am at my core in two ways, like both sides to what drives everything, I think. On one hand, I mean, it probably seems a little hokey in some ways, but being a Gemini, I feel like, I don't know if this is the case for all Geminis. That's why I say this. So it could be just a coincidence. But I have both sides to me. So I have a very artistic side, creative side, and I have a very business side. And so I think that in some ways makes me, and this is why I think maybe it's not all Geminis, it makes me a bit different. And when I say that, for instance, when I started as a speaker, where I went, where most people didn't go at the time, was I mixed both worlds. So I would, for example, my talk about customer service was called Getting Standing Ovations from Every Customer. And it was a marry of how do the Rolling Stones sell tickets for $500 and sell out? And then how does a big box store sell more than their competitor by a landslide? And what are the actual things they're doing? Like, what are the 4 steps that we can replicate or learn from that? But what it was really doing is marrying the business and artistic world. So that's one side of what informs a lot. And, I on one hand, I could be, and these days I've kind of put the artistic side to the side a little bit. But on one hand, in the past, I could be writing a book or writing a song or playing guitar, or playing music, what have you. And then an hour later, I could be writing a business bio or an article for a magazine or doing a video around business. And so I think that may be different. And then the shorter other side to it is grew up in a small town, raised by a single mother, barely graduated high school. I got a 49 plus one in a class I needed a 50 in, which, by the way, I know deep down means the teacher gave me the plus one, and I probably didn't get 49, probably got like 47. He bumped it to 49, then gave me the plus one, so I'd always remember I didn't really graduate legally. I did, but ethically I didn't, I guess. And then on top of that, when I did graduate high school, I didn't know the difference between fiction and nonfiction. Didn't read my first book till age 27. And my single mother, I really believe, because I was raised by only my mother, I took on a lot of those traits that, like, for example, multitasking that they say men are terrible at. I maybe took it on and still do. And even though I know it's not the right way to do it, I know that focus is the answer. There's many times when I find myself multitasking and people are like, how can you juggle those two things and jump between them? And I think it's because of having the influence of my mother, who was also a multitasker. And so I say those because I think, Josh, that's who I am. And I'm also a father of two, a 7 and a 4-year-old, common law wife. And so, and I grew up in that small town, left for a long time and came back, and now live in the small town again. So that's, I think, who I am versus what I do.
I love that. I think it's important because we're humans. We're not like people that have professions, right? It's like, oh, and speaking that as an entrepreneur is really fun because I love the and, right? The and I can do this and this at the same time. I've been working through that my whole life. And I think it's interesting because you get in the room with entrepreneurs and the first thing they want to know is like, what do you do? What's your business and how much are you making? Right? It's like all those things don't resonate with me. It's like, oh no, who are you as a person? Which is so much more defining of like how you show up in the world and what you do, right? Like what you do for people. So I love that because I've been in the and I just for me it's funny, it's like the same thing. It's like you're artistic and you have all these things, and then also you're very business oriented entrepreneurs. Like for me, it's like I tell people now is like I speak science and woo at the same time. I can do both. And so there's not one or the other, which is beautiful in this world because we're moving towards this like non-dualistic kind of way, like how everything is working in that way. So I love how people have evolved and have become in that space. And so that's pretty cool. Um yeah, it's just like you've interviewed thousands of leaders. Like where did you come up with this stuff, right? Like I I didn't read a book until I was 27 to being a best-selling author, right? And being an influencer and all these I've been speaking on stage mostly for pharmacists and wellness for a long time. So I really do follow speakers and I follow the process of speaking. But when I'm hearing things like Mo Mondays, TEDx, these big speaking gigs on TV, like where did that come from? Your voice.
I mean, it's a really good and a question, and I think it's in some ways fascinating to explore because, to your point, I lived a certain amount of my life not in this path, and so much so that I battled hypochondria and generalized anxiety for about 4 years in my early 20s. And the irony of that, Josh, is I was at the same time a few years into a corporate career that I was having tons of success with. So it's also funny sometimes how one part of our life can be in shambles,
Yep.
and
Yep.
nobody sees it, and nobody knows that. The people I was working with weren't dropping by the walk-in center to see that I was there every second day because I thought I had something new. They were just seeing this guy's super successful at work. And I mean, it's much the same as we can see a CEO that seems to have all the success in the world, but the kids don't know his middle name, that type of thing. So there's that side to it. Meaning that probably explains why I wasn't into the personal development world and all that stuff earlier on, because if I would have been, maybe that would have helped me counter what was going on. But ultimately, I was in sales, so I was in the corporate world, I was in communication. I was starting down the path where I ended up, but I certainly, I could have easily stayed in sales the rest of my career and never went down this path. So I think this goes back to the point about my creative side. So what actually started changing things is I started like I had played music, wrote music since I was 12. and started playing at clubs when I was really young, and then just stopped. Like, it was like I was terrified of the stage. I didn't want to be playing in front of people. Like, it just stopped completely. Pulled in my tracks, went down the corporate path, and then I was living in this larger city that when I grew up in, quite a bit larger. I grew up in a town with, at the time, 3,000 people. They called it a city, but it really wasn't. And I moved to a place with 700,000 people. So it was like an overnight culture shock. And now I'm going around selling photocopiers door to door, driving in my car to walk in door people that don't even want to see me. And it was just a big culture shock, which probably why, even though it's having success, why I was having the anxiety and everything else is because I was pushing so much on myself at once. But what happened is I met this dude that was at my office who uh, he had a studio, like a home type studio, and he wanted to start recording music and figuring out how to do that. And I was like, oh, I'd like to start finishing writing songs, writing the rest of my songs, playing some music, all that kind of stuff. And so I started over again and I recorded a couple CDs with him. I went out and started playing music locally. And that, I think, is kind of, it sounds strange, but what sort of started me down this path that I'm in now. So then what happened is I did the music again, terrified being on stage. Um, and then I moved across the country again, back closer to where I grew up. And I wrote the stage play that I put in a local fringe festival. And halfway through the play, um, one of the actors, the lead actor, actually sprained his, more than sprained, broke his ankle basically, and he kept doing the play for the rest of the 4 day run. It was a 7 day total run, and I had to write new lines because now he needed more time for costume changes. So what happened was, I realized I was the only person, other than the actors that were already busy, that knew the line. So I had to write myself into the play that I didn't want to be in. Like, I was supposed to be the Ral, right? And I didn't want to be on the stage. Never wanted to be on the stage ever. I wanted to be a screenwriter or a stage play writer, songwriter. And but what happened was I wrote the play so that this sounds crazy, but I could have my back to the audience, wearing a big wig, and I had, like, I think a Triple H wrestling t-shirt on. Like, I just didn't want to be seen at all. And the funny part is the actors were the only ones that could see my face because I was facing them. So he was a busker playing music, and I was like a person that was like up going up saying Claymore Bob Seger and throwing pennies at him. Like, that was my character, one of them. And so I was sitting there covered in sweat, and they could see me. So it was like the actors, it was like, for them, it was throwing them off because I was covered in sweat, but nobody could even see my face. Like, why was I covered in sweat? Nobody could even see me. They could barely hear me. But at the end of the run, I said to one of the actors, "Do you know how I can get over this? Because this could happen again." And he goes, "Dude, I don't know if this is what you're looking for," but he said, "I signed up for the a local stand-up comedy workshop at the university. Did you want to come with me for that? It's like 2 weeks." And I said, "Oh my God, that sounds horrible." But I said, I could maybe learn about writing and stuff while I'm there. So sure, I'll give it a go. Went to a 2 week workshop. And then after the 2 weeks, the guy running it said, "Hey, we should do a local show and then study the comics and talk about what they did right and wrong." And so we were like, "Sounds great." So we promoted it, filled the club. About 5 minutes to showtime, we said, "Where are these comics at?" And he looked at us and said, "You're looking at them." "Oh, I didn't tell you. You guys are the comics tonight." So we found out with 5 minutes notice we were going to be performing stand-up comedy. There were 15 of us. 8 walked out the front door. I've never seen any of them again in my life. I was one of the 7 foolish that stayed. I told this story which is true. I went inside the bathroom sweating, going, "Where's the exit window? Can I crawl out the window?" Because it was like the main floor level. There was no window. It was like barred shut. I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm stuck here." So I was like, maybe I can walk out the front door. And I went and I landed on the stage, like, just like, leaned at the bar, and I was almost like almost about to pass out. God, I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I had this vision of me sitting at the bar with an older guy, both of us next to each other, and some young person performing stand up on stage, and me going, "I was going to do that one day." Wouldn't that have been cool if I had that in my life vision? Like, if I could say that that was part of my life, my legacy. And that was what did it. I said, I think I'm terrified, but I think not doing it, the regret of that is going to be worse than going and doing it. So the comics all started debating who's going up first. And it's like 10 minutes after showtime now, and nobody's going up. So I walked up and grabbed the mic because I had been to one Toastmasters meeting, and I learned if you're going to do it, face it head on, go first. But I didn't have any material. I didn't know what I just jumped up, started telling what I thought was funny, to dead silence and no laughs, silence, which is worse than heckling. Told a second joke this time. Again, dead silence, but I jokingly say now I think I saw Tumbleweed going by the back. That's how bad it was. Until the guy called me over the corner stage, gave me a schmuck in the head, and said, "You idiot! What are you doing out there? We haven't even turned the mic on yet to start the show." So I was out there like telling my jokes. Nobody could even hear them. We turned the mic back on. I told the jokes, and guess what, Josh? They bombed again. So I think I'm the only comic that bombed twice with the same material in 10 minutes. Having said all of that story, that's what started it all, because then somebody brought me to Tony Robbins event, said, "Can you believe he's getting paid to do this?" I said, "Oh my God, people get paid. They don't have to go in front of hecklers and pay for their own gas to get there and what have you." And I said, "I want to know more about that." And that we can go deeper in that, but that's what started the journey of me getting into the speaking world. And then the rest is history, but we can talk about the history if we need to.
I love that. No, I love the synchronicities, right? Like you got it's this is how I feel like a lot of people's callings happen, right? When they just literally are like they have no time to think and they're just shoved into it. Like the universe just says, "Here you go. You're on stage. You got no time to think about it and you just have to do it." Cuz I think we obviously you talk about this, but like we get in our heads and all of a sudden it's like this whole thing. And then I love what you said is like not doing it would be worse than trying and getting through it, because I think a lot of what happens, whether we call it transformation, growth, healing, well, and like moving lifestyle changes, it doesn't matter when we're changing or we're doing something that doesn't feel comfy inside, right? Like, we just get pushed into it and we get it done, and then it's never as bad as we think it would be, right? It's like, "Oh, I bombed, but I'm still here. I'm still, like, alive. I'm breathing. It didn't really even bombed twice, but guess what? You move through it, right?" We always put all that emphasis on the moment. So I love that, like, you kinda got nudged into it without even knowing, and that's just how I love having these conversations with people, because it's the formula is generally the same. It's like some random event happened in their life that sparked the thing that got them to best-selling books and TEDx talks, right? Which is
Absolutely.
awesome. It's like so cool. Then you go like, "Oh," and then, and then Tony Robbins comes, and then I could do this, and then all of a sudden it's this, and da 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 da. So thank you for the backstory. It's really cool. Um, So you talk a lot about, you know, building the life of your dreams, transforming, like where 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 are we right now? Like a lot of people that we're in this transformative space in life and careers and jobs, and the world is all going nuts. And so people are moving in these directions of trying to figure themselves out. And you've interviewed thousands of leaders and entrepreneurs, which I love talking. And you know, what's kind of the vibe for like this day and age, this kind of message? Because I want to talk about Blue Talks and I want to talk about the things you're doing in your book and everything. But like, I just kind of want to give your sense of like where things are right now and how it's looking, because there's a lot of people that are just like they're over anxious and they're just really in this space of like, what in the heck is going on here?
Yeah, I mean, there's honestly, Josh, there's so much to unpack there because of the fact that, I mean, I hate saying because I don't want to be doom and gloom, but we're more divided than we've ever been before. I put a post up recently on social media, and I thought about putting another one up today. I don't know if I will, but I put one up recently on Facebook, and basically I just said, regardless of your political beliefs, your beliefs, et cetera, I just want you to know that I love you. And the reason, and I put this out because, and I'm bringing this up for a reason. So many people right now say it's terrifying out there. It's the worst it's ever been. I always find that comment fascinating because I love this quote that says, "In times like these, it's always important to remember there's always been times like these."
Yeah.
So like you say it's the worst it's ever been. I'm pretty sure the Civil War was pretty bad. Like I'm pretty sure there were times that were as bad. And people, say this is the worst it's ever been. It's the worst it's ever been in our lifetime, is what they're really saying. But having said that, I see so much political divide on social media. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not getting political when I say this. I'm just sharing my thoughts around what you asked, is that there's so much political divide in terms of I hate this person because they have this belief and what have you. But what I find wild right now is people are saying, I'm overwhelmed. There's so much tension and negative energy. And then I'll watch the same people say that post on here saying this. And again, I'm using political party, could be anything, but these people with these beliefs are evil. And then they start, oh, they're evil, why they're evil and stuff. Well, you just said that you're overstressed, but now you're actually engaging, not just getting hit by it. You're engaging and creating more of what you say is stressing you out. That's what fascinates me. Or people that have a certain belief and say, respect my belief, but then say, that's terrible. How could you think that way? And don't see that, it could be 4 members of your family that you were raised with, and you now have a different belief than them or vice versa. And you've always loved them and still do. But yet you're saying the people that believe the same thing that they are all evil, 100% all evil. Well, from firsthand experience, they're not, because regular people like you have the same beliefs they do. And so what I'm getting at is that's to call a spade or pick the elephant in the room. But what I think the takeaway I want people to have from that is you need to disengage from that. So in other words, one of the things I talk about I told you about the book that we put out. One of the things I talk about is, it's a fictional book, but it's loosely based on my life, is when my mother had cervical cancer, which she had for a number of years. And she went to the doctor, and the first appointment she had with him, he wrote on a prescription pad, like an actual prescription note. The prescription he wrote was, don't watch and read the news anymore. And so what that started is my mother went on a news detox. I joined her on it. I've been on a news detox ever since. That's 20 years probably now, Josh, or almost. And what I'm getting at is, people always ask me, how are you still so positive and stuff at such a tough time, or when so much is going on in the world? It's because I've taken the steps to deflect from that, to give myself the Teflon, to build up what I need to be able to deal with that stuff without it bringing me down. And so a real tangible example is, I do what I call, I just put a little name on it for fun to be hokey, but I put a name on it called posits, but I put positive deposits in daily. So daily, I'm having great conversations like this, interviewing people to learn their way of thinking, reading powerful books, what have you. I deposit daily, so that now if I had a bank account that you could physically see it, I've made all these deposits. And so now when somebody wants to pull me into a negative conversation, or I happen to see the news for whatever reason, because I'm still on social media or whatever that looks like, now it's only one withdrawal and I have all these deposits. So I have so much built up in the bank that one withdrawal isn't going to make a difference. And so what I'm getting at is, I hear, and this is not to take away from the fact that there's a lot going on. A lot of people are being, um, dehumanized, and all these other things are happening. I'm not trying to pretend we turn a blind eye or it's not happening. But what I'm saying is, at the same time, it's like who you hang around with is, in a lot of ways, who you become. So in
Right.
other words, if you continue to engage in that, that's what you're going to get more of. And so for me, my feeling was that I want to be the change. I want to be the person that's not engaging in that. And part of that is, I need to daily put more positive in than negative. And so the takeaway from that is, I went on a news detox, and I literally started thinking about how much negative is in my life daily and how much positive. And this came from the fact that my anxiety started coming back after I eventually gotten rid of it in a lot of ways. And I could start to feel a little bit of it coming back. So I did this list of who I was spending my time with, because I'd always heard that you have 5 years time will be a reflection of the books you meet and the books you read and the people that you meet. And I knew I had the books covered at that point. I was putting the right stuff in, but I thought maybe it's the people. And I did this little overview, and I realized that like 16 of the people that I seen regularly were negative, gossipers, negative, what have you. Only I think it was 2 or 3 were positive. So I had to make changes. And so those changes continue today. But that's how I stay positive, is I make sure I'm putting more positive in the tank than negative. And you'll maybe like this because of what you talk about often, but not to deviate a little bit. But that anxiety and hypochondria I mentioned, people often ask me, like, how did you get rid of it? And pretty much, I don't want to say cure. I don't like the word cure, but I'll just say it hasn't come back, other than that one time I could feel it and I made changes. And you know what? The only thing I did that was different is went back to that night at stand up comedy. So this is a full circle moment, is that when I did the stand up, I went back to work the next day. I bombed horribly on the stage, but I went back to work the next day. And people said, "Oh my gosh, you seem different. Like, you seem to have a glow about you. Did you meet a girl last night or something?" And I said, "No, I did stand up comedy." They're like, "Well, you need to do more of that." And I went back every week. I ended up doing 700 shows over 9 years. And
Wow.
but I kept going back, and but it was the taste of it. It was like I ultimately found out speaking was more of the passion than comedy. But here's the thing, just the little bit of passion coming into my life, because I had no purpose at that point, no passion, it changed everything. Like within weeks, I forgot I had hypochondria. I forgot I had anxiety. And so what I call it now, Josh, is vitamin P. So I say I took vitamin P, which is passion or purpose. And I say it's the only vitamin you can't buy in a store, but it's maybe the most important one you'll ever take. And so I take vitamin P. That's how I deal with it. So when you say, what does it look like out there in the world? Part of it is figuring out what your purpose is and living on purpose. Because when you're engrossed in your purpose, you have a much harder time being pulled down by the negative stuff happening. And then secondly, taking an active effort to put in positive more than you get negative in. And then the last piece I would say is to um, be willing to do a news detox or some way to actively say
Yep.
I'm gonna have less of this in my life. That would be the overall.
No, a lot of it resonates with me. I'm glad you got into that. I haven't watched the news for since COVID, probably. Like, I just don't watch the news. Like, it's just one of those things. And it's not that news isn't happening. And of course, I don't get political much, but like, I, I think it's really important to detox from the negativity. Let's call it that, right? And moving, because you're correct. Like, it's the same thing that I've done. It's like you choose to engage in that belief or philosophy, it's okay. And I love to say that, one of the things I'm here on the planet for is like you said, I love your post. Like, it's okay. I love you. Right. Like, one of my biggest things in my world is, can I unconditionally love everybody? Like, that's one of the things I want to do in my before I leave. Like, but I'm still conditional because I'm a human, right? Like, I'm not Buddha yet, right? um,
Absolutely.
but I love the deposits, because it's funny, because there's science in that too. It's like, we know that if we're filling our love bucket and we're filling up our positivity, and to me, all that means is, am I acting and moving towards what's resonant to me?
Right.
If I'm moving towards what's enlightening to me, what lifts me up, like you said, vitamin P, I love that. I may use that. Is because I'm a purpose, mission driven person. And so if I'm doing this podcast and that lights me up, because I love having these conversations with awesome people doing good in the world, and I can talk wellness and I can talk healing and I can help people move beyond prescriptions and move into the realm of what's possible. Like, that all lights me up. So I'm filling my bucket with that stuff. And then, yes, shielding yourself from not just negative people, because I also believe that too. The books you read and the people you hang out with are who you become, because that's what happened. And so I think we've spoken a lot about that, is like, how do we detox from the things that are depleting us, and how do we improve upon the activities that are improving and vibing us up? And so that balance just becomes natural. Like you said, yes, I don't use the word cure, but what I would probably put in there for your anxiety would be passion, resonance, spending time with people that are lifting you up. I just call them my tribes, like my dad tribe, my I call my soul pod, right? The people that are just like, they're there to win it with me, all that matters. And I think people lose sight of that because they get stuck on the scroll of death, and they're listening and engaging to all that. I call it depleting now, because I think all feelings need to be felt, because we're humans. There's just like, there's no like, we can't let them sit. We can't let them like engage inside of us and hold on to them. So I'm glad that you brought all that stuff up, and how and why it's something that you've been doing. So thank you for that. Let's and you did talk about your book a little bit, but tell people a little bit about what the book's called. What's the name of the book again?
Well, for those that can see this, I can show it's called The Enlightened Passenger. And in a quick nutshell on it, it's like I say, it's a fictional parable, but it's a personal development fictional parable. So comparison wise, and it's only if people have heard of these books, there's not a lot of well-known fictional parables, but examples would be The Alchemist.
Yeah, one of my favorite all-time like parable books for sure.
Book. Another one is The Celestine Prophecy, which is really in the mid-90s. Anything pretty much by Og Mandino, so like The Greatest Salesman in the World is an example. Richest Man in Babylon is another one a lot of people have heard of. And so those are examples of parables. And my other books that I've done, none of them have been, well, I'll correct that. One was a parable, but wasn't really, I'll correct that again too. It wasn't necessarily a parable in the traditional sense, but it goes back to what I talked about earlier. It was a book about, actually, it's funny, I never have it, but I'm going to show you guys because I happen to have it nearby. And it's also similarly very, very small. I wrote this book a number of years ago. I never sold a copy in my life. So it was never meant to be sold. But basically, it's about what I talked about earlier. How do you get a standing ovation from every customer? Figurative or literal. And it's a book about stand-up comedy. A guy at a big box store like a Staples goes to a stand-up comedy club and sees this comic get a standing ovation and says, I wonder if what he did in that stage could be applied to business. And so then he brings the comic in for lunch, and they go over the 4 things the comic realizes he does. And the guy wants to get a promotion at the store, but then he ultimately learns that he really wants to learn about how to treat customers well versus just the promotion. So I wrote that book, but it was very intentional. The idea was, what if I could get this message in front of CEOs who could bring me in to share their message with their team? So I actually sent the book away to give it away for free. So I did write a parable once before. This is the first parable I've ever brought to a publisher, ever sold copies of. And the idea behind it was, I won't say it. I don't want to reveal or ruin anything. So I'll just say it was built around a certain question that I had been asking and the idea. And so I came up with the idea. And the interesting part is I knew the ending first, then I knew the beginning next, and then I knew the middle. And so, and I just kept sitting with it and toying with, I'm going to write this soon, and never did much with it. And then we went on a 2-week vacation with the family, and my wife said, you don't swim with us. You're not a swimmer. We're going to go to the beach a few days. Why don't you write the book either on the beach or in the cabin? I know you've been talking about that book, and you never do it because you're always too busy. So bottom line, I wrote half the book in 2 weeks. And then it took another year, Josh, for me to finish, because then I got busy and I would write 4 pages at a time and move away and come back. And so I wrote the book. But what's interesting is every time I did sit down to write, it was effortless, which I would love to pretend that's normal. Also, I do believe, I remember I was interviewing James Redfield, who wrote Celestine years ago, and he said, you got to write a bad book before it's a good book. You edit it into a good book. And that's been my experience for most of my books. That's not been for this. I literally did this book, and then I wanted to have feedback or a focus group. So I went out to people and said, who wants to read the book first? Give me feedback. And I was looking for, like, what are some things I'm missing? What needs to be changed? What's not resonating? Most of the people said you need a lot of work on the grammar and spelling, because it was not proofed at all when I sent it out. But almost everybody said, but this book needs to be in stores tomorrow. So I was like, whoa, this is the first draft. That's not normal. Normally it should be like horrible crap. So the reason I say that is not a compliment to me. It's to say I feel like the book was channeled. It was like a gift to me. It was like, somebody needs to write this book. Here you go. Here's the concept. And so I put the book out, and the premise with it is, I said it's like personal development, almost like The Alchemist or what have you. Just like those books, it has lessons. So The Alchemist and Celestine Prophecy has 9 insights. So this book has 10 lessons. But what I think makes it somewhat unique is it's based on those thousands of interviews that I've done. These are the 10 things I always say that I would teach my kids if you locked me in a room with them for 24 hours and said you can only teach them 10 things for the rest of your life. These are the 10 things I would teach them. So stuff came out if I didn't feel it was in those 10. So it's 10 life lessons. It's called The Flight That Changes Everything, but it's 10 life lessons that could potentially change a life or your life forever.
I love that. I'm definitely going to grab a copy, because these are, people learn through story too. They learn through these ways, right? We've known that we've learned through stories, and I love how it's a parable. And Alchemist is one of my favorite parable books. So amazing. How can people get a hold of that book? Is it on Amazon everywhere?
It is. I mean, it's.
You have a website or?
Yeah, I'll give a website, but it is everywhere. It's it's at Walmart, Target, Barnes and Noble, Amazon. All, as they always say, all the
wherever you get books these days, you can get it. Cool. I just want to make sure, because sometimes people are like, no, you can't do it that way.
Yeah, no, but it absolutely is. However, the easiest way to get it is online for many of those retailers. And then, but to answer your question more directly, we do have a website. It's this is thebook.com. So this is thebook.com. What's unique about it is when you go there, you can actually it'll direct you to the places where you can buy it. So in other words, instead of you trying to pick which one, you can go there and have the links. You don't even have to search it. You just go to that
Cool.
website
I love
and
that.
click.
Your cool website.
Well, and here, having said that, right now, and it could change tomorrow. I don't want to make promises, but by the time you hear it, it may or may not change. But right now, if you go do it, you buy the book, you go to that place, let's say Amazon, get your order number, and you come back to the website, put in the order number, and you get a bunch of free bonuses immediately. So so it's and usually that's only available when people do the book launch. We just haven't taken it down yet, but it's like it's powerful stuff, like exclusive interviews with Lisa Nichols and Les Brown that have never been aired before, stuff like that. Like it's and then training. We have training on what I talked about earlier, how to build your what I call now your relationship inventory, like the list of who you spend your time with. I go through that in real time on how to do that, and so on and so forth. So yeah, so there's a bunch of bonuses if you get.
I love that. And that's the goal for me in this podcast is when people are resonant to what you're saying, like in the episodes and they're hearing this, is like, what can they do? Like, what's the thing to do? Because we don't want to just sit in thought. We want to do into action, right? There's one thing about saying you're gonna, get rid of your depleting energetic relationships, and it's another one to actually do it and then experience what life is like after that, right? That's what we're really looking for. We're the experience of moving through this thing, like just in transformation. I say it all the time. The only way forward is through. It isn't about sitting here and talking and listening to the podcast and then going on your day. It's like, oh, there's real things to do. This is thebook.com. I love that. Get some vitamin P. I know we're winding down because we both have some hard stops today, and we'll probably get on another one for sure. I love what's going on, but I want to talk about bLU Talks because this is something that I think is really cool. And when you described it to me, I was like, the first thing I did was like, I leaned in. I was like, ooh, this is cool. So talk to people a little bit about bLU Talks.
Yeah, so bLU Talks, as far as first and foremost, the name, it's bLU, and it stands for Business Life Universe. And so that's again all intentional. The backstory and the current story is that people were asking me saying, "I wish there was like a spiritual TEDx stage," and also people were saying, "I wish there was like a stage where it was focused more on the experts so that they could deliver their message to the viewers and the listeners and what have you." And so enough people asked that eventually I did a survey, proof of concept, basically. I went in and said, who would be interested if we did this? And it was a big response. So I ultimately decided to launch this thing, which I said to you is like, I kind of say it's like if Chicken Soup, TED Talks, and Mind Valley all got married somehow and had a baby, bLU Talks would be the baby because it's a mixture between them.
Yeah.
And basically, it's a mixture between the business. So what we would have, say, on our live stages would be people speaking on business, people sharing life stories, people talking about things like spirituality or synchronicity or Reiki or anything like that. And it's a mesh between them all. It's like a mashup between business, almost like what I said earlier, right? My creative and business world. This is like a mashup between business and spirituality. But and what it looks like in real, and now I'm telling you how it started and what it's about. But what it looks like in the real world is we run live events almost every month. So we have 11 more coming up this year, for instance. And we run a live event where speakers show up, just like a TEDx, if you picture TEDx, and they share their message, 20-minute talk. They share their message with the audience there in person, but the biggest audience is always the video later because we're on so many networks now. We just got onto Binge Network. We're literally, it hasn't even gone live. It's like going live today or tomorrow. We're on Connect TV at Hollywood. We're on the Apple, Roku TVs, all those type of things. And so that's the video. And then we also put out a book regularly. That's like an anthology book or a compilation book with multiple authors.
Yeah.
Usually have a big name feature author. Like we've had the late Bob Proctor, Ken Honda, Dr. Joe Vitale, Marie Diamond, and so on as the featured authors. And then we have a podcast and a virtual stage. So that's like the 4 platforms where we kind of bring bLU Talks to the world through.
I love it. I can't wait to dive in because I think I love the entrepreneurial side of health, wellness, healing, and it's got this whole like it's perfect for me. I can't wait to dive in on more of this. I'll probably get hopefully get some guests from that on my show, because it's right in line. I was like, I speak woo and science, and I love being an entrepreneur. So it's like I'm already automatically connected into that space. So I'm sure we'll talk offline, and I want to figure out where are these stages, where do people go? Like I want to participate. But I think that's a lot of like our listeners, they're in that spiritual or finding, the way I look at spirituality is like when you start looking at things that are bigger than you, right? That's the life is bigger than you. Like everything is like the greater good. And all of a sudden it's like, I tell people I'm not very religious, but I'm highly spiritual now. And that's because I've gone through my own stages of healing and transformation. And I love the science and I love the business. So I think there's a lot of people that I'm connecting with right now that I think could definitely love that and move forward. So we know how to find it. I can't wait to dive into your book. What else as we're wrapping up here in the next few minutes? Like what's when people are working through, building this new life, building the life of your dreams, and you say it may not be, it may be easier than you think. I want to kind of drop some breadcrumbs for people today, because I think we want to move people in the right direction, move them, but change is difficult. And so what are some like one or two things people can be doing as it relates to living their best, purposeful, authentic self?
Yeah, happy to share that. And one thing I don't know if we did, so I'll make sure I add this because somebody may wonder after. One of the other things I'll share is if people want to, like, if somebody's listening and they're like, you know what, I think I could be a good fit to speak on that Blue Talk
Oh
stage.
yeah, like how do people get a hold of you? How do people move that? I would definitely want to get through that too.
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty easy. I think the easiest path is because it's one of those things, as we've seen here, it's hard to summarize something so big in a short amount of time. So I always say, if it works for the person, jump on a call with us. And the easiest way to do that is speak on blue, and it's bLU, speakonblue.com. I mean, the other option, Josh, is people can always reach out to me. I'm very accessible. So that could be either on social media, or my email address actually is Corey at bluetalks.com, Corey at bluetalks.com. But yeah, if you want to jump on with our team, speakonblue.com, we'll take you right there. And in terms of the other side of what would I recommend people do, there's so many things, but the one that popped into my head, I always go by what pops into my head when you ask the question.
Yeah, that's all I want.
And so I would say, actually, I can give two very quick ones, like in a matter of a minute or so. One is write your own personal mission statement. It can be terrible at first, but all the companies that you look at that are thriving typically know they have a mission statement. If their employees don't know it verbally, they know what it means. So, for example, Disney's mission statement is to make everybody, especially children, happy. And so their employees might not know that is the actual mission statement, but what they know is if you drop your ice cream cone, they're allowed to get you a new one, which makes you happy. So they know the action to take. So first of all, have a mission statement, and mine is to be the guy that motivates, donates, educates, entertains, and inspires. Now you can, I mean, it could be I want to be the best dad in the world. Like start basic, but what that allows you to do is, and this goes to the second thing I would tell people, is you need to start saying no more. And so the mission statement allows you to do that. So if somebody asks me to take something on, I can look at those 5 things I just told you and say, does it cover those off?
There
If
you
it's
go.
0, Josh, it's the easiest no I'll ever say without regret in my life. If it's 4 of the 5, it's probably an easy yes I'll say without regret. And so having a mission statement allows you to decide what a yes and no is. And the secondary part is when it comes to a yes and a no, a soft way to do it, like when somebody says, hey, can you help me do this? I would say you need to start practicing the muscle because most of us inherently say yes. So the easy way to do it could be if somebody emails you and sends you emails you and says, hey, I want you to do this. And you're not interested in it. It's not a good fit. Usually you might ignore it. I would say, just say no. Like take the time to say, thank you for reaching out, but it's just not a good fit for me. Then you're working and flexing your no muscle. And then the last piece is if you don't want to burn bridges though. So for the people that that ask, an easy way not to burn a bridge, I learned this from Shailene Johnson, who was the Turbo Jam creator from P90X. But basically, say, look, I have to talk with my family. It depends what the ask is. I have to talk with my family or my employees or what have you. Is it okay if I get back to you tomorrow with an answer? If I can't help you, I'll find somebody who can. Does that work? Who's going to get
Yes.
mad at you? Like
Exactly. Those are
so that
beautiful lessons, right? It's like you'd never burn your bridge, but how do you not burn the bridge? It's exactly that. I say it all the time. I would love to help you. And if I can't, I will find someone that can.
yeah,
Right?
it's hugely powerful. And so I tied the two of them together. Like you need to understand that most people that are impacting a lot of lives have to say no to more things than they say yes to. And everything you say yes to is actually a no to something else. So be careful of your yeses and your nos. But knowing that it's important to start doing it before you need to if you can. So start doing with those little no's, as I said, and then write that mission statement so it helps you figure out what is a yes and a no. That would be what I would sum up in a couple of minutes.
No, that's beautiful. I really appreciate the clarity and just the simplicity of that, because the mission statement is really your why. It's where you're going, and it's a big filter, right? The filter is you can easily say yes or no to it, right? Like, is that a yes or a no to that? So it's almost like you're making that the problem, not like, oh, I don't want to make like, I don't want to like lose somebody. I don't want to have somebody, all that stuff. Because yes, we all say yes, especially in the giving healing world. It's hard to say no. And so I think that's a really nice place. But then you can say no with love. You can say no. If I can't help you, I'll find someone that will. Would that be okay with you? Those are the okayness. I love the why wouldn't I questions, right? Those are beautiful.
Ab-
This was an amazing episode. I think we could talk for another 1 to 2 hours, probably, just on the things we're talking about today, because there's so much in here. And I'm really appreciative of just you being on the stage with me today, exploring these new opportunities. Go check out his book. This is thebook.com, speakonblue.com. I love that. I'm going to be already on there. So just be careful. I'll be right there. I'm excited for you. I think these are such great avenues for people to explore. It's in such alignment with who I am and what we're doing on Beyond the Pills. So, Corey, thank you for coming on the stage today.
Thank you so much, Josh. It's been an absolute pleasure. Appreciate you.
All right. And that's a wrap, guys. Until next time, stay well.
Thanks for joining me today on Beyond the Pills. If our mission to deprescribe 10 million unnecessary medications resonates with you, share this episode, subscribe, and leave a review. Whether you're a practitioner or someone ready to reclaim your health, visit rx2wellness.com for free resources to begin your journey. Together, let's go beyond the pills and co-create a world of vibrant health and true healing. Until next time, live better and stay well.